Let's talk a little Dallas Cowboys here, shall we?
Yeah.
Michael, before we get to your article, which we will in a moment because it's excellent, up at VSiN.com right now, a full breakdown talking Cowboys. Will Jerry Jones go all in? The phrase that has haunted Cowboys fans all offseason. But we had a little development here from the one and only Micah Parsons when asked about CeeDee Lamb and his current contract. He said, quote, CeeDee is part of the brotherhood whether he likes it or not. He knows he's not going anywhere. The business side, they're going to take care of him. I'm pretty sure he'll be here soon because no doubt about it, week one, he will be suited up for the Dallas Cowboys.
No question. And I wrote that. I wrote that in my column, Stormy. I said, I have no doubt he's going to be there. I have no doubt. But I think what I wrote about in my column is what I believe is one of the reasons why every Cowboy fan is asking for when. Mm-hmm. When is he going to do something? When is this going to change? When are we going to sign him? You know, one of the great things about spending time around Coach Belichick is, we went back and watched the Cowboys game against the Packers. And I got to tell you, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing on a lot of fronts. It was embarrassing from a coaching standpoint. It was embarrassing from Dak Prescott. I mean, it almost looked like, and these are my words, no one else's, it almost looked like the Cowboys were out partying the night before the game. Mm. I mean, there was no intensity from the offense, defense, nothing. And having been around owners all my life, when they get embarrassed, they're hard to reason with. And they can hold a grudge. They can hold a grudge for a long time. And I think this win mentality that's going on in Dallas has a lot to do with that game. I really do. Well,
and it's when with the contracts. It's when with Mike McCarthy and his status right now is what feels like a lame duck coach. It's when will this team get over the hump and not just be a regular season team, but be a postseason team. You think about the success that they've had in the regular season the last 3 years. They've had the second most wins in the entire NFL in that span, second only to the Kansas City Chiefs, who, what do they have in that time span? Yeah. 2 Super Bowl rings and a 3rd AFC championship appearance. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys have 2 wild card round exits and a divisional round exit. That's not what Jerry Jones is looking for at 81 years old.
No. And here's the fact. You know, the last 10 years, Jerry's team has won the NFC East 5 times. 5 times. The Eagles have only won it 3. The Commanders have won it twice. And, of course, the New York Football Giants have yet to win it in 10 years. And how about this for a nugget? The Cowboys and the Eagles are combined 7-31 against the New York Football Giants. I mean, they've dominated them, but yet they can't get over the hump. They can't get that. As I wrote about in the column, every time they seem like they're going to get it, the ending is always the same. And I think a lot of it comes down to the mental toughness of their team. It comes down to the mental conditioning of their team, the physical toughness. But I can say this honestly, watching the Green Bay game, rewatching it several times, they were bad. They were really bad.
Well, and one of my favorite quotes from the article you wrote is, why would he meaning Jerry Jones, why would he hand out big checks to Prescott or McCarthy after witnessing a complete meltdown? And that's exactly what it would be. And from an odds standpoint as well, Michael, we look at this division where you just said it, their record against the Giants. This is a division in the NFC of the haves and the have-nots, where the Eagles now are -120 favorite, the Dallas Cowboys +160. Why is there that disparity? Because the Eagles this offseason have tried to invoke change and bring in people that'll make their team better and more dominant. The Cowboys haven't done anything. And that's why this all-in theory or idea from Jerry Jones, I think, is so hard to wrap your head around. At least it is for me.
It is, because where Philly's saying is, Nick, you're still on the spot. Nick, you're still under a lot of pressure. Nick, you have to do something really good this year to keep your job. Whereas Jerry's saying, Mike, you're under pressure. You got to do something really good, and I'm not going to do anything, right? Now, look, they lost a lot of players to Washington. Dan Quinn came in and just basically emptied all their depth out, which is going to be a problem. I mean, that's a problem. Took away all the depth, and that's hard to do. So it's hard to recoup that. And when you watch them on run defense, Stormy, they were not good. They couldn't stop the run. I mean, Maisie Smith's got to play way better than he did. You know, they lost 2 of their inside tackles. This is going to be, I mean, when I kept watching it, the conclusion I reached is lame duck coach isn't good. And I said this all off season. I don't believe this roster is an overachieving roster. I don't think it's an underachieving roster. I think it's an overachieving roster.
Let's dive down that lame duck conversation a little bit more, though. Why is it or how hard is it in your experience as a general manager for players and coaches to function and to buy in when a coach is in this type of scenario?
Well, we know this. We lose our confidence because we look at the scoreboard. We lose our confidence because things don't go well for us. It takes mental and physical toughness. I think the Cowboys are a front-running team. I think that's pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
They're a front run. When things are going good, they're good. But here they do. They open up with Cleveland. They come home against New Orleans. Now, you could say, well, that's easy. They should beat New Orleans. Well, New Orleans will be a tough game for them. I'm just telling you, that'll be a tough game, even though it's home. Then they have Baltimore. They go at New York, at Pittsburgh, at Detroit. If they don't get off to a good start, that lame duck status creates doubt. It creates uncertainty within the locker room. And when that permeates, you got to be really good to turn it around.
The season win total for the Dallas Cowboys set at 10.5. You are getting plus money on that over, plus 150. And again, this article up at VSiN.com right now. Michael Lombardi doing regular columns every week throughout the NFL season now that we're back underway. Make sure you check it out today. We don't want to give everything away from the article. It's a really, really great read, just really diving in on the concept of when with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go a little bit deeper on the football side of things, though, Michael, because you also have done another article this offseason about burning questions and the top dollar topics that you have for each of these teams throughout the NFL. When it comes to Dallas, what are some of those biggest question marks that you have aside from schedule here?
Well, I mean, look, here's where Dallas was so good, right? Dallas was able to play from in front. They had a 124-point differential in the first half. They had a huge fourth quarter point differential, and so they were able to constantly play from in front. And so by playing from in front, the opponent couldn't run the football on them. 4 of their 6 losses, the opponent ran the football very effectively on them, including Green Bay. Stormy, I got to say this on a side note, not to get off on a tangent here, but Aaron Jones was sensational in that game. I don't know how they decided not to sign him back. I really don't. I think Aaron Jones was unbelievable when you watch that tape and what he was able to do in protection and in the passing game. But we'll get to that when we get to Green Bay. The point here that I'm making is that, when they can play from in front, they're good. But if they don't have that quick start like they didn't have against Green Bay, where Detroit could match them point for point, all of a sudden it becomes a harder game for them to win. And so from that standpoint, from that talent, and plus this, having studied the game your whole life. I mean, how many times are you going to get pick sixes? Bland had 5.
Yeah.
He had 7 as a team. I mean, that's 49 points basically they got think about that. Can you have that magic again? I mean, we know Minnesota didn't have it. We know New York Giants didn't have it.
Deron Bland's performance last year in terms of those pick sixes, Michael, was historic. Yes, that's not going to happen again to that level.